Hey, yo, what is going on, everybody? I am back with a video about Duel Lanka Donka. That's right, Duel Links video. They just had a ban list, if you're not aware, that a ban list just dropped. And I keep getting asked the same question over and over and over. You guys know me. I prefer to be more of a analytical guy, so I prefer waiting for big tournaments to determine what tier lists kind of look like. But I keep getting the same question, Ryan. What do you think the current tier list looks like? What do you predict the tier list will look like? What do you predict the power rankings will look like? So I figured, fuck it, dude. We'll just make videos about what I think the tier list will look like, and then we'll see how close I get whenever we get some solidified data. For example, the GG Tour that we're going to have this weekend will be a pretty good indicator as to what the meta will look like. So this video will probably be a good comparison to that upcoming video. And I figured, why not? We'll just do this today because I have time. Why not? Now, this tier list is predicated on 2 tournaments that we've had, and we've had the post-ban list. So this is all post-ban list, and the rose structure deck thing, the flop card, or whatever it came out. So it's here. It's around. This is kind of where I feel the meta is going to settle, and I'm going to kind of go through all the tiers and talk about why I believe that to be the case. Number 1, Tier 1, Burning Abyss. I feel like Burning Abyss lost the least out of the ban list. They did lose, quite a bit, more than I originally thought. I was like, oh man, the skill prisoner and all that isn't a big deal. One thing I didn't bring up was Levianeer. Levianeer was pretty huge in the KC Cup specifically. However, the thing with the tournament scene is it's best of 3, right? And you have a side deck. So, we've seen a lot of Burning Abyss players go into the side deck, put Levianeer in there, put Drawson's high level, and they ultimately ended up being kind of okay. It didn't really matter. Their conversion rate has been amazing from Swiss to top cut, and they're the most entered deck. That being said, though, their conversion rate to the top 8 is a little concerning, so I'm not like dead set on tier 1. I actually wouldn't. It would be kind of weird for this deck to kind of fall off because it didn't seem to be nerfed as bad, but this deck always did have a problem with high-bodied monsters, and that Levianeer was a really nice addition to kind of make them, a really good deck. And they lose it immediately as soon as they get it. So it's been kind of weird for Burning Abyss. We'll see kind of where they land. If anything, maybe the tier 2 decks rise up and go into tier 1 alongside with it. It's more because Burning Abyss isn't as strong as initially thought post ban list. So we'll keep an eye out on that, see how that goes. DDD was the other deck that was nerfed quite severely, and I'm gonna be honest with you, they're still doing okay. Their conversion rate to top cut isn't the most amazing, but their conversion rate to top 8 is pretty much the same as Burning Abyss right now. So we'll see how it continues to go with DDD. They may end up dropping to tier 3. It's hard to say. The consistency is just all over the place, man. The consistency is just dog shit right now. And that was something that was always like the nice thing about DDD. The consistency was so good that even if it wasn't necessarily the best deck, it was the best deck enough times to win tournaments consistently. So now that we're post-ban list, we'll have to see how DDD adapts. So far, it has not been that good. I still feel like they're in that tier 2 position just due to deck strength. Even though they did lose the consistency, the deck strength, if you're able to make Giant Stranger turn 1, for example, is still very, very strong. So I don't think it's going to drop down to tier 3, but if I had to take a guess, tier 2 is kind of where it's going to end up being at. Galaxy Eyes is back, baby. Let me tell you, Galaxy Eyes has won a tournament and gotten multiple top 4s in another tournament. I think this deck is finally in a good spot again. Before, it was kind of being pushed out because of Burning Abyss and whatnot, but as Burning Abyss is kind of trying to figure its way into the meta and counter all these decks that counter it, it's kind of opened a pathway to Galaxy Eyes. It still looks really rough when it goes up against, like, slower decks like Burning Abyss and Gandora, especially when they can play cards like Kiteroid. It doesn't really seem to have a good answer for Kiteroid, so we'll kind of have to see where we land with Galaxy Eyes. But right now, I'm feeling a tier 2, maybe a tier 1 if Burning Abyss continues to struggle getting up to top 8. It's just that this deck has too much interrupts, too much much, monster negates, too much pops, and it's very hard to prevent OTK without just, playing Kyroid and hoping that they can't OTK you. So, good job, Galaxy Eyes. Gandora is back. I fully believe that Gandora is back as a deck right now. Before they got knocked out by DDD and Burning Abyss, those decks were just too fast for them. They've been slowed down to the point where those hand traps can stop them, and I do feel like Gandora is making a comeback into this metagame, able to stall the game out until they get Giga Rays and go for lethal. Totally a reasonable play strategy if you wanted to do that with Gandora. Good on them. Odd Eyes Pendulum, I'm not too sure, to be honest. It was between this and Metal Foes to put on the tier list, and I feel like Metal Foes is more of a ranked / KC Cup deck still. I'm not fully on board with Metal Foes. So I put them down in Rogue alongside with Tech Genus. Tech Genus is another deck that's gotten some support with Rudy Rose. And, those are kind of up and coming decks, but they're not like the top tier decks that I think of. Odd Eyes still has that potential to sack you. Still has the potential to open God Hand. It still feels just like a weaker DDD in my opinion. But I don't know if it'll stay on here for much longer as the meta settles. But right now, you still see them top enough, I think, to consider them a tier 3 deck. Next up, we have Necros. Necros is still a surprise to me to this day. And really, it's because the best decks in this game are so extra deck focused. Necros, they have the Trishula to prevent themselves from being targeted. They have the Bryonic and the Trishula. Both Burning Abyss and DDD are decks that, end up getting cards in the graveyard, field, and hand a lot, especially Burning Abyss, especially if they end up being the best deck, right? Necros is always going to have Trishul alive, so it's really hard for them to play around that. Bryonic being able to bounce cards back to the extra deck is super relevant against Beatrice and Dante, which, need their effects by being sent to the grave or being destroyed and sent to the grave. And of course, DDD, they're all extra deck monsters as well. You don't really do DDD just for the big monsters and the Pendulum summon. You do it for the extra deck summoning, and that's why Necros is kind of seen a revival in this current metagame. I actually would not be surprised if Necros ends up going up a tier if Burning Abyss is the sole tier 1. And that's kind of the question with the metagame right now. Is Burning Abyss just straight up the best deck? Or is it like Burning Abyss, DDD, and Galaxy Eyes are the best decks? Or like what's kind of the laydown here, and that's hopefully the question that we will answer this weekend. GG Tour $500 tournament for Duel Links. You guys have been showing a lot of support for the Duel Links content and the Duel Links tournaments lately, so I hope you continue to do so. And that's pretty much all I have. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk about the Vrains leaks in another video, post some the top 4 finals, and then some top 4 finals of Master Duel as well. Peace out, boys. I love you. Till next time.